Turok Evolution was released in 2002 for the GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. It was advertised as a return to form for the series, not necessarily in terms of quality, but rather aesthetics. They want to make a game that looked and felt more like Turok Dinosaur Hunter, which is a great idea. Unfortunately, their ambition was somewhat compromised by the fact that the studio developing it, Acclaim, was going under. The end result is a little bit of a mess, and at the time, it did not review well. In Turok Evolution, you once again play as Tal'Set, the hero of the original game. He's in the middle of a battle with Tobias Bruckner, a thoroughly racist Confederate soldier, when they're both pulled through a portal into the Lost Land. Tal'Set is quickly enlisted by a sketchy wizard named Tarkeen to take up the mantle of Turok and thwart the evil Lord Tyrannus and his dinosaur army. Oh, and Bruckner finds a new gig as an evil general. You'll meet a lot of silly characters along the way, often awkwardly sliding into frame to tell Turok things of incredible importance. But none of it seems to matter that much or make any sense. What's important is the comedically dramatic writing and acting, coupled with some of the jankiest cutscenes you'll ever see.
You and your unholy ilk will be cleansed. I will see you all torn limb from limb. I knew I smelled the stench of your dark magic in this.
I have played no part in this, Tyrannus, save that which my oath requires. You know the old ways as well as I.
You will pay for your heresy with blood!
Look, I love a good bad movie. They're a lot of fun. But very rarely can the same be said about a bad game. It takes a certain cocktail of genuine greatness and poor decision making to pull it off. And for my money, Turok Evolution is the best bad game ever made. And honestly, it's almost a crime to say that because it comes so close to greatness. It's all the little rough edges that hold it back. And if they were to be improved upon with, say, an HD remaster, things might be different. Anyway, for the purposes of this review, I'll be looking at the GameCube version. Personally, I prefer it on the Xbox thanks to its higher quality textures and more extensive wildlife, but it's a lot easier to capture GameCube footage, and really, it's mostly comparable. As long as you're on GameCube or Xbox, you're getting the full experience. The PlayStation 2 version, on the other hand, that's a little iffy. Turok Evolution, despite harkening back to the original game's aesthetics, actually sticks closer to Turok 3 in terms of level design. Each of the game's chapters is broken into separate missions. And while you sometimes have to search for Tarkeen keys to open doors or pull the occasional lever, objectives are never very complicated, and usually everything you need can be found in the nearby area. Some fans may miss the heavier focus on exploration from Turok 1 and 2, but I really do think this is a better direction for the series. It puts the focus on what these games do best. I'm talking the varied locations, monsters, and the absolute finest arsenal in gaming. And hey, judged strictly on these merits, Turok Evolution is very much worthy of the mantle set by its predecessors. Throughout the campaign, you'll travel through jungles teeming with raptors, caves with saber-toothed tigers, ancient ruins, a flying city that looks a lot like New Mombasa from Halo 2, and a whole slew of heavily fortified slag outposts. Those are the dinosaur guys, by the way. And with this game, you really do get your money's worth. The chapters seem to go on and on, almost to the point of tedium. If you were to play straight through the campaign in one sitting, you might start to feel a bit of fatigue. Turok Evolution is very much the kind of game that works better in short bursts where you progress a little farther each time. It's not that it's repetitive, it's just that the constant action might wear on you after a while. And there's definitely some inconsistency with the way things are paced out. Some missions can be done in like 5 minutes, while others might take over an hour. I like that you never quite know when a level's gonna end, but this decision definitely butts heads with the very stingy checkpoint system. And by that, I mean, there are no checkpoints. It doesn't matter if you've been chipping away at a tricky level for 40 minutes and you're almost done. If you die, you start over. It doesn't help that the developers like to place the nastiest enemies and most unexpected traps right near the end. This mountain mission in Chapter 3 is probably the first time you'll experience this problem for yourself. It takes forever to climb the winding paths, avoiding dropships and snipers. And then, right at the top, you hear this weird popcorn sound effect, and then rocks fall on your head, probably killing you instantly. Bullshit. So yeah, if someone wanted to fix this game, adding checkpoints midway through the biggest levels should be the first item on their list. Anyway, as long as you can tolerate replaying the same level a few too many times, you'll hopefully be able to appreciate the way developers find new and interesting ways to stage combat encounters. There might be stealth segments, or areas with tons of verticality. You might tear through war-torn streets with a platoon of NPC allies, shoot down hot air balloons with a mounted turret, or just go guns a-blazing through hallways, mowing down support beams and crushing enemy forces along the way. Almost every level seems to add some new wrinkle, and combined with the frenetic moment-to-moment gameplay, Turok Evolution plays shockingly well. I won't go as far as to compare it to Halo or some of the best shooters from the time, but aside from wonky ladder climbing and whatever the hell this is, Turok controls well enough. But that's just one factor at play here. The other thing that really helps bring the package together is the game's insanely fun enemy AI. The various slag units and creatures you encounter aren't exactly smart, but their scripting does sometimes create that illusion. The slag seem to split up and flank pretty dynamically and often know the best moment to push an advantage. But not always. Sometimes they just stand around like morons, or worse, run in circles. I don't know, I kinda like that the game manages to work at both ends of the spectrum. This way, if a fight isn't fun, you can almost guarantee it'll at least be funny. Seriously, these slag guys are total clowns. The other key ingredient here, as you might have guessed, is the arsenal, which I'm confident is the best in the series. All of the reliable standbys are here, like the tech bow, the pistol, the shotgun, and the rocket launcher. But you also have fun new weapons. The flechette gun fires silenced darts, absolutely tearing through appendages and brains. Poison arrows bring enemies to their knees and make them vomit their guts out. And the plasma rifle rounds both track targets and explode. In fact, every gun has multiple firing modes, essentially doubling your arsenal. The aforementioned flechette gun, for example, can convert into a minigun, no idea why. The rocket launcher can fire, well, rockets, or if you prefer, you can unleash these things called swarm bores, which are similar to the cerebral bore from Turok 2 and 3. Oh yeah, and it can also convert into a nuke, so that's cool. Even the game's less exciting guns get a facelift thanks to the addition of alternate firing modes. The shotgun in particular is really great. It can fire a single blast, like you would expect, or you can chamber multiple shots at a time and fire them all at once in a single glorious explosion of lead. Oh, and I gotta give a special mention to the starting melee weapon, the axe. It remains an effective option for close encounters all the way to the final fight, and by holding the fire button, Turok can charge it up and really bring the pain. Combined with the excellent sound design of both the weapons themselves and the enemies' hilarious screams of agony, plus the absolutely excessive levels of gore, you'll quickly find yourself embracing the utter absurd mayhem of it all. Another area where Turok Evolution may falter a bit is in the graphics department. I've already discussed the bizarre cutscenes, but everything in the game is equally unpolished. It's a weird hybrid of stuff that actually looks nice, like certain dinosaur models and atmospheric vistas, and drab, ugly textures, weird lighting, and blocky, poorly animated NPCs. Some areas look absolutely vibrant, teeming with all manner of flora and fauna, while others seem, frankly, unfinished. This sentiment holds true for the bosses, of which there are a grand total of 2. First is this Styracosaurus armed with cannons that you fight in a giant arena, and the other is Bruckner, riding atop a tusked, fire-breathing Tyrannosaurus. They're both fun, but thoroughly forgettable. The only strategy you need to win is to strafe in circles and keep shooting. Or, in Bruckner's case, you can totally cheese him by hiding in the downed dropship and axing the T-Rex's lower jaw as it clips through the wall. The other big negative here, alongside the lack of checkpoints, is the inclusion of Pterodactyl dogfighting. It's a bit like Star Fox, but way jankier. Some sections are on rails and others are more open, allowing you to turn around and approach targets from multiple angles. Everything controls well enough, and on paper this sounds like a fun expansion of Turok 2's brief Styracosaurus segment. But there are 2 key things that hamper these missions. First is the design of the levels themselves. The difficulty spikes are wildly unbalanced and often totally unfair. Sometimes the enemy flyers can't hit anything, but then other times they're ace pilots who could put the Red Baron to shame. Oh, and we have to address the elephant in the room. The Pterodactyl can take a lot of abuse, but man does it hate walls. Sometimes you'll just get hurt a bit and bounce off, which is probably what should always happen, but usually you just explode. And once again, some of the craziest, most difficult to maneuver passages often come right at the end of a level. So, for any future developers seeking to remaster this game, take a look at how Star Fox 64 handles wall collisions, and just do that. The last thing I should touch on is the music. Look, this isn't my strong suit. Give me something loud and bombastic, or maybe a little electronic, and I'll hum it until the day I die. Turok Evolution isn't that. It alternates between subdued and atmospheric, and triumphant orchestral. It all sounds good and often quite fitting, but there aren't any real earworms here. I guess the best I can say is that it's never bad or distracting, even if it rarely adds too much to the experience. At the end of the day, I don't really expect to convert anyone to the cult of Turok Evolution, but I do hope that some of my impassioned ranting has at least somewhat illustrated why somebody might view this game as an unsung, almost masterpiece. Your ability to enjoy it will absolutely come down to tolerance. The good stuff is there, as long as you don't mind subjecting yourself to some truly frustrating flaws. And if you can appreciate the charm of a goofy AI encounter, or absolutely absurd displays of carnage, that's a bonus too. Unfortunately, Evolution was the only Turok game released for this console generation, and while I would have liked 7 or 8 more of them, I'm very happy with what we got. And that just goes to show there's an audience for every game, even the sloppy ones.